Right, we've come back to take a look at the gluing. In general, everything seems fine. I've got these side sections to fit on, which align quite nicely, and I've also got the edges to double check. Some of them are a little bit awry, but the main point is that these sections are nice and tightly glued along the tabs where we want them to be, which is excellent. I'm going to take this little guy and offer that one up in there. I'll return to the glue. There we go. Again, the same kind of thing's going to happen. I'm going to try and locate it over the lugs. There's a slight tap in there. And I'm not going to worry too much about gluing the sides until those lugs are comfortably dry. Again, just check this one. The general alignment is pretty good. Probably used a bit too much glue there, but as I said, it's on the hidden inside. It will dry clear anyway. Not quite so easy doing it back to front, but you'll see that it just slots over. That was the only one that's not playing the game, so we'll just push that in a little bit whilst holding the other side. There, clicked in. And we'll repeat that the other sides. I don't mind blobbing the glue on, because what will happen obviously when we push the outer cardboard on is that it will at least ensure that we've got contact. If it blobs out a little bit, that's fine, it's on the inside. Okay, so that's done that one. Last section, just make sure we've got that the right way round. So again, you can't really get this wrong, because otherwise the holes wouldn't line up. Right, make sure you can see that. Yeah, as I said, I'm not worrying too much about these joins or this inner piece. I'll come back after this main section is dry and revisit those. Quick return to the instructions. And now we're looking at the ramp support, which is on the short side. So we've got this section here, we're running round to this blank section here where the support sides are. Just give you a bit of a flavour for how it's looking via the other camera. It's looking via the other camera. As I said, this section here is what we're interested in from the next piece. As I said, this section here is what we're interested in from the next piece. That's described as the card ramp panels. But obviously before we get to that, we've got to put the actual ramp supports themselves. Now, I think those pieces, these angled pieces, they would seem to make a lot of sense. But maybe not. They do look like the pieces that we're interested in. They need a back piece, which again is angled. Not sure. Something like that maybe for the smaller one at the front. Let's work on that basis for the time being, because they look like they're the right sort of size. Now the only interesting thing is the rear section has obviously a small tag, an angle tag, and then a front tag. If that's to fit in there, that's quite interesting, because we need to know where that tag goes. And I'm assuming the underneath section is for the MDF, and this angled piece is for the cardboard. Obviously it follows that angle. So we'll work on this, getting this section finished anyway. So have we got anything else that looks of a similar profile to this one, but obviously with a deeper section? So I'm now just going through the pile of bits that we still have remaining. And whether it's still on a sprue or whether we have already had it fall out. Nothing obvious as yet. Oh, hang on. Is it maybe this section? Move that out. And what we're looking for is one that will fit in front of the others. And again, that's pretty, or is that? It's a pretty tight fit, that one. Okay, before I make a decision on that one, as you can see, it's quite tight, this one. I think the flat bladed file would probably be a good idea. Move the paper out of the way. And with this, I'm trying to support the section that I'm filing against. All I'm doing is putting that through there. You can actually tell that it's quite tight because the file at the end section is struggling to get through. But I said it's important to, I think, to support the side that you're filing against. So here I'm filing down. Same on this side. Actually, just not being able to get that through there is a bit of an indication that it's somewhat tighter than the other sections. Okay. On here, you can also see that on this section, there's actually a block there. Now this is going to be a lot trickier because that is a much more delicate section. So I'm going to remove from there, pop on the table, get the craft knife, just slice that off. Same thing is happening on this side. So we'll just slice that off. This is perhaps a slightly safer way. We'll just scrape along the side whilst we're there. Give that a bit. Oh, that's got a bit of flex there. Go careful. Okay. I think those are quite good. Not too worried about these thinner ones because they'll be for the cardboard. Let's just do this top section for completeness. So I think you get the general alignment is that we've got top section coming down. It's now a lot easier to use. So let's do a bit of gluing. Oops. Push that in there where it belongs. Wipe off the excess. And then scroll it down. Again, we're trying to make sure the piece sits flat on the floor. That's gone quite well. This time round, put the section in there. And again, we're coming forward, making sure that we press firmly down. Last little bit to go in, which I think I'll do the bottom section this time as it's free in the hand. Offer that up carefully. Try and get both done together. You can probably hear the noise there as we're pushing that through. So even after the filing, that's still quite a tight piece. That's obviously very solid and seems to match the profile that we're trying to achieve here. Oops. Side section comes off. I have to revisit that in a minute. This matches the profile of what we're trying to see. On the inside. Now, looking internally, just making sure we align nicely. And it's quite a tight fit again. Okay, so I'm going to take that section out. Use my little trusted file to get in there. Also make sure that it's got any obvious blockers removed. And try and marry that up again. Just going to revisit the... Yeah, that is definitely the right area. Relooking instructions. So maybe we'll turn this thing over and seat it down from this direction. This is probably a slightly more difficult ask because of the mistake I made with that strut in being a little bit too aggressive first time around with the filing. Well, that's clearly designed to be in there. I'm just a little bit worried about how much effort that's requiring. I'm really going to revisit the filing here in both sections. Just go a little bit up this side. Again, try and make sure we support that. Interestingly, that inner section is very tight. Let's make sure. Okay. This is a Permagrip needle file. Flat file from their needle file set. And as you can see, it's only at most a couple of millimeters wide, so that really should be able to pass easily through any of those gaps. Okay. So are we back on track a little bit more? Interestingly, we're getting some resistance right at the outset from the cardboard section. So let's try a little bit of filing in here. I don't think the file will pass entirely through because these slots are designed to be a little bit smaller because they're taking the cardboard. However, we do need there to be a bit of flexibility there to actually get through. So let's just try that on its own. It's quite a bit of resistance there. So let's try and angle those in first. Okay. This is if you can see that, but obviously it's designed to fit snugly against there. I think this is one of these occasions where we're going to be gluing in the slot just at the end of the squeeze, because I've got that close enough there that I'm going to glue the end tabs. That's it. See, I'm gluing actually the end pieces now here and here, just to make sure they fit in, and we'll carry on pushing that down, swip it over. Okay. Okay. You can probably see there that we've pulled out a whole lump of cardboard because that fitting has not gone well. So I'm going to get a pair of snips remove some of that debris. But I think that definitely is something that could be done better on this kit. And I'm feeling quite aggressive about clearing that off, actually. I think if we don't, it's going to get in the way subsequently. Just to keep you engaged, we're pushing that down so that it's away from the tag, and we're going to try and remove that section there. And the minute I pushed it down, actually, you probably couldn't see it because it's off camera, this got a little bit better. There we go. That's it. I'd much rather it was level. I'm not too worried about that being a little bit loose. I am worried about it. Perhaps this side. A little bit of glue will help that. Again, I don't mind it running down a little bit. Let's use a needle file. Push that in. Okay. Now this, while we're here, this was the other section that wasn't gluing properly, so we'll put some additional glue there. Firm that back. Okay. Definitely the most tricky part so far. Now we revert back to card, and we're trying to look for ramps that obviously match that profile and match the side. Again, I think it would have been fairly easy to have marked up the relevant sections, but now become a bit of a guessing game. That doesn't look right to me. Obviously we need a profile that's triangular, and I'm not seeing too many of those. In fact, I'm not seeing any at the moment that are triangular. But lots of pieces similar to this, which I think are going to be used later on. Top section. We've got this section here, which I think might, yeah, it's that way around actually. So that's that section. So maybe, here we go. Is that looking more of a candidate? As I said before, you definitely get faster at this the more pieces that you are able to identify. So I think that piece there looks favourite for down the side. Okay. So again, let's just perhaps deal with the top section first. And that's obviously aligned on there, but will require a little bit of effort to squeeze over. So again, let's try that. And it carries on a little bit over the top. Every so often you get a faint click or pop noise. There we go. As it locates itself correctly. I think under normal circumstances I'd actually wait for this to dry now, but time is pressing. So we'll just check that that's going to fit in there nicely. Yes, it will. Same principle. We'll blob down fitment points. And I think on this occasion we'll run a little bit along here and see if we can get it to touch from the get-go. As I say, I'm really surprised this is actually carved in a lot of areas, only because it feels to me as though that's going to be the actual entrance into the castle. Quite a heavily used section. Thin card, maybe not the best idea. Having said that, once it's glued, once it's painted, once it's primed, sorry, and then painted, perhaps that won't be such a concern. As I said, I would take your time and glue each section individually and then come back to it. But for today, trying to get the game piece finished, spent too much time painting figures, to be honest, and not enough time on the terrain. And I've made a mistake there because I really should have put the glue down the edge before putting it on. So let's just peel that back a bit. Okay. Hopefully that will now glue in there nicely. Run your finger down it. Okay, let's put those guys there. Okay. The nice thing is, if it's wood glue and it's a warm day like it is today, this probably isn't going to take too long to sort itself out. Whilst that's generally sitting there, have a look at the next pieces. The next pieces are starting to make the castle really come together. So obviously just a bit of a recap. Fitted the outside front ramp on in terms of the underlying MDF structure. We've now fitted those sections there relating to the incoming ramp. As you can see here, we're looking to fill in the top of the castle and actually start to give it a little bit more of a realistic feel. So it should be a fairly easy thing to find these 4 large pieces. I'll try and locate them now. We've got obviously a profile to match the main area, but as you can see in these outer sections, the pieces are slightly extended. So there's one of the candidates. That's probably another one. Just for completeness, all of these have actually fallen out of their sprues already. Now that's a small piece, which I don't think is correct, but we'll put it to the side anyway, just in case. This is a more likely candidate actually. Again, from the diagram, there's no indication that they have the markings, but clearly the markings are designed to be shown. And the most important thing is that we line up the tags that you can see in the various sections. So obviously that doesn't work. That doesn't work either. That might be the rear section, so we'll come back to that in a moment. In terms of front section, this is interesting. because I'm now wondering whether it's these tags rather than these tags, because that could that sit over there? No, that's not deep enough. Okay, so I'm going to revisit this by getting this section, which to me looks the most likely candidate for the big piece. Again, on the underside there's no printing, so we're assuming that this is the top section. Interesting. So let's go back to the diagram. It implies that it goes that way round. There aren't any tags apart from in here. So there's one. There's one. So there's a couple of tags here though, and it can only go on one of them. If it goes on that one, does it actually locate? It won't locate on the other one over there. So let's think awry with that piece. Is it this one instead? This is a challenge. This section here actually appears to actually we've got one piece. Okay, we've got one. Just checking the diagram out, you can see that the section that we're interested in has got a small little tag that lines up there, so I'm fairly comfortable that's the right one for there. What I'm looking at now is this bigger piece where naturally you feel like that is going to be the right approach, but clearly that hole doesn't match that one. So is this an underlying problem from the fitting, or does this one actually turn this way round to the back? Okay, can't see it, but just off camera I'll put that piece to the back for the time being, because we need two pieces with a slight angle, as in with a slight extended piece, and the two that I've got remaining are square. So again, I don't think that they are the right choices at the moment. So I'm going to still return to the bits box and see what we've got actually on the table. Aha. Here's another slightly larger piece. Now that to me, now that immediately feels better. Okay, you can feel that that's locating itself nicely. Now let's return to the diagram. Again, you can see the front section here. We've got this one that matches the profile, which looks quite nice. We've got a square one, which I'm beginning to think might be something like this. But oddly, that's not quite right. We don't know at this stage whether what is odd is we've got this sort of arrangement here, and do I see a section that looks anything like that? Well, not from this guy. Obviously that needs to be that way round, and that doesn't match either. So let's concentrate, I think, on this rear section which I'll just show you where we need the extended piece. So obviously that's not the right profile. That, however, is. I think we're going to have some challenges here in terms of making that align. I'm not too worried about that. That's obviously a section to support the upper floor. I'm a little bit worried that we don't seem to have any lugs around here, but we do have a lug in the middle there. So I think generally, given the pieces available to us, that's the right section. Which basically means that we might have this section here might be the right one. And it's looking a bit better now. Yeah. So I think, taking all things into account, that looks like it's supposed to be the right section. As I said, this is going to be a bit of a challenge, and probably what we're going to do is turn it upside down and pop each one of those in individually, but we'll see how we go. I don't think so if we assume that they are correct, fairly comfortable that these three can't be any different. We have obviously the overhangs that need to be adjusted for on the edges here. We also have the overhang here. The front against the ramp, as you can see, we have the overhang here that's required. So the only choice we have is about the multiple pieces that are available for this rear section. Again, that doesn't feel quite right in terms of fit. So I'm going to discard that one, concentrate on this piece, which has got you know what, I think we're going to go back to the bits box again and see whether we have any more square pieces, whether we're close to fitting that. I don't think we do. So what I'm going to work on, I think, is sections at a time, the ones that we have least issues around. And the one that I tell you fits best, appears to fit best at the moment, is this front section against the ramp. So we're gonna go for it. Oops, probably shouldn't do the top of it. Just for completeness, it does right over the top of the cardboard, and we can come back and fit that a bit later if we have to plug a gap or something. Yeah, it does seem to touch on this section as well. And we've obviously got some section here. Now, I did notice when this section was fitted that we talked about it having a little bit of movement, and I think that's part and parcel of what we're seeing here. So we're going to start at this end. That's located nicely. That's located nicely Now, that's gone in, that's gone in, that's gone in. Excellent. I'll come back and fill in any gaps with a bit of glue later if I need to. Just smooth that off. Okay, so I'm fairly comfortable. That is entirely the right piece for that section. So let's try this piece, the next one along. Again, I don't think there's a disagreement there about alignment and whether this is the right piece. We've got these lined up nicely along the side here. So let's just do a bit of gluing. And it may seem a bit of overkill, but I'm very happy to be gluing everything. Nothing worse than a model that shows its age and starts to come apart afterwards. By maximising the amount of contact points, this is going to be hopefully a really robust piece and allay some of my concerns about the cardboard. I do think this multiple sections of MDF are probably a little bit overkill, but I hope the overall model is not too heavy. It's better to have a more durable model, I guess. Okay, let's now offer that up and see how we get on. Okay. Not quite as nice bit, but okay, we've got that one over, we've got that end one over. There we go. As I said, not too worried about these guys because I think they are going to be for other sections to fit into and offer some support for the top. So let's just make sure that's nicely smoothed around the edge. I think that will need some filling a bit later on. That's fine. Okay. So that's that section. Now the other section I'm fairly sure about. Let's just address that little issue there. Okay. Yes, the other bit we're fairly certain about is this bit because of the way that it aligns. And again, we've got a good match. We've got a good fit with the outside edge. So let's do this guy as well. Just from seeing at the side, the cardboard section is just a little bit away from the upper MDF section. As I said, we can go back round a bit later on and glue that strip in, or perhaps use some filler. Probably even get away with using decorator's cork or something like that. Trying to, at the moment, provide a little bit of coverage in every single area. Okay, top there. Yeah. Okay. There. So again, we've got a good seal there. These pieces, I'm assuming, are for the upper section. So if we revisit our last piece, it feels like those should align like that. Yeah. I don't know why I was making such a fuss about that, because that actually is clearly the right piece. And again, what I'm trying to do is make sure that everything's flush. I'm going to give that a proper little push with the end of the file and my thumb, and that making sure that's flush with the other floor pieces. Yeah. Okay. Again, I'll give you a little bit of a shot from the other camera, and hopefully you can see the overall effect starting to come together. As you can see, there's a little bit of attention probably required over here for some of these joins, but we'll wait and see what the upper section looks like. Okay. Good news is we're on to step 15, which I'll just show you here. Oops. Step 15, glue keep inner frame panels 36 and 37 together, and glue keep ground floor to the frame. So again, what we're doing here is obviously putting a bottom section in and then a top section on. And now if you remember at the very outset, when I was trying to find things that might serve as base, I kept some of these pieces to one side. Here they are. So I'm going to look for four that are very, very similar. I think these are they're the same length. They've got the same orientation, but obviously the slots are in different places, which is great because we need them to locate themselves like this. That feels to me the right thing to do. However, they are a little bit stiff, so I'm just going to put that in there slightly. I'm going to try and just do the inner one of these because it's a little bit more fragile. So I'm just going to do the inner section to avoid leaning back and putting any pressure on that outer section, potentially breaking it. One done. I'm pulling the file towards me on this one. So we're not taking off a little too much, as you can see, we're just taking off a little bit. sometimes I think when these models are cut out with the laser, there's a little bit of burn residue. Maybe there was a little bit of wood dust or something, and it tends to get burnt on. I don't think this is anything inherently wrong with the sizing of the model or anything like that. Yeah, I can already tell that feels a little bit better, so we're going to pop this guy in with a bit of glue. There we go. It didn't really take very much to make that a nicer experience. Again, really important just to make sure that everything's flush on the bottom so that it doesn't overhang or anything. So then if I just pop these two in together, clearly one of the pieces I was looking at earlier was the base. Oops, this is certainly going to fit this profile. Now this is a question where you just have to get the alignment correct. There we go. And so we've got 4 nicely positioned sections. This is the one I had before, which I'm now becoming more comfortable that is this one. Yeah, that fits quite nicely actually. And yep, I'm happy that that's the right section, so I'm going to go ahead and glue that one. I'll probably do, just because I need to push down, is remove the larger castle from underneath. That to one side. Concentrate on this one so we don't damage it. Great. I'll just check that. Excellent. Now, if we move on after having done this section, you can see we need to put some outer side on. I'm beginning to, I think the colour coding is fairly easy in that when it's orange, it's obviously the cardboard. So we're looking for something that fits onto these that is cardboard. Not necessarily sure about that piece, but it's going to be something akin to that in terms of profile. Could be that. Okay, I think the important bit here is that we're looking for something that matches height-wise as well. Now, obviously that's a little bit low on the top, but it's so close that I can't believe there's another piece that's designed for that. And obviously that's completely the wrong shape. That's too much of an angle. And we're starting to run out of options. Given the fact that we've got 4, the only interesting bit is that we have a section there that's got a blank piece. I'm not convinced that that is the right one, however, because it has two in the section here that we can't offer up. Just revisiting the diagram, you'll notice that we have got a section there that has got the two extra tags, but there is nothing on the inside to locate those against. So clearly one of these later on will be important to check the alignment, and maybe we'll have something else tucked into it, but for now we just need to make sure that we're happy that this is square. Which I will do in a very low-tech way by making sure that is just over. That's fine. That's about there. Yeah. So clearly, for the time being, fitting these on doesn't matter where we go. So I'll fit the 2 tag option a bit later, and we'll just fit these on for now. Pop those over like that. Actually quite a good fit. And when we come to do the side section here, we'll put a little bit of glue on the outer edge of that cardboard, as well as in there. Oops. I can't describe it any other way than you will feel when that is properly located. And again, if you want to glue a section, wait a few minutes, glue another section, feel free to do so. You can probably tackle this piece independently of what you're doing on the base. So if you get a gap on the base, this is a good section to come along and deal with while something's gluing. Okay, so this section inexplicably is not locating. That's better. There we go. Okay, now we've got this last section, the 2 holes in the middle, which we're going to offer up. Okay, run our fingers down there to try and make those seals a little bit better. Again, very happy to come back after everything is glued and revisit those. There, okay. So fairly comfortable with that as an output. Okay, so just returning to the instructions, we've glued the outer section on. What it's actually saying here now is glue the keep and bastion bases to the courtyard. So in other words, we're going to put this section back onto our main base. There's a note here about aligning the keep step mounting wall with the step riser slots in the courtyard floor. Apologies, I'm reading this upside down. Note the arrow for positioning. So logically one assumes that that arrow refers to this section here where we've got these extra risers, or these extra slots. I think under normal circumstances I would let this dry a little bit. So I'm going to take a 2-minute break, come back, start that again.